So this was qualifying results. We qualified P4. Manual could have done a better lap time, but unfortunately there was a limit of 6 tyre sets for the entire weekend. So that was practice, qualifying and the 6 hour race. So he was only able to do 2 runs and wasn't quite able to get his best lap together that he could have, but it was still a decent position for the start. Now into the start, the 6 hour race coming into the first corner on the outside, not the best place to start, but let's see if Manuel can keep it clean. Unfortunately the livery didn't load, unfortunately for the stream. But there the Ferrari spins in front, very nearly contact with us. And now into the straight here. But yeah, unfortunately for some reason I couldn't get the livery to show, which is why our car is black, but it should have had the ballast livery on it. Here Manuel goes for a move around the outside of the Ferrari. Ferrari very defensive and aggressive, trying to force Manuel around the outside, but Manuel just backs out there. Now I had to leave the server and go get some tyre temps because it looked like it was going to rain soon and we thought we might need to change to wet tyres, so I went out the server to get that, so I didn't actually get any clips of the overtakes. But when I joined back, Manuel's already back up to P2, so he's doing a great job there. So then I had to go get some more tyre temps, etc., and then join back in, and Manuel was leading the race. He got past the BMW. It was now raining, but we were staying on dry tyres. For the entire race, we stayed on dry tyres even when it rained, and that is where the strategy comes into play. As you see, the BMW was really struggling, so Manuel was able to start pulling away. The back markers were a bit of an issue, as you see, because in the driver briefing, they didn't have to move out the way, it wasn't mandatory. So that did cause a few issues in the race. So yeah, I'll be back in a few minutes. Here Manuel still doing a great job pulling away and pulling a big lead there, as we see. Just got a track limit warning though. Manuel here was behind the Honda coming into the first couple corners, the back marker, and he goes into the back of him, gives us a little bit of front aero damage. Didn't affect us too much, but as you see here, Manuel just didn't expect the Honda to go so slow on this right hander and ends up going straight into the back of him, giving us that little bit of damage. Now Manuel came into the pits at the end of his stint. It started to rain and now it was over to me. So now I jumped in the car. It was now raining, but we were staying on the dry tyres. That was our strategy, and it really does play out as we see at the end of the race. But now my goal was to just try and maintain the lead that Manuel had built up, and then try and not make any mistakes, be consistent, because obviously on the dry tyres and wet conditions is a bit difficult, so I was just trying to focus on being consistent. So now we start off our stint with 4 hours and 55 minutes left of the race. TC up to 5 whilst I get used to it. A few minutes in, as you see, to my stint, just trying to keep it smooth. As you see, the conditions were very difficult, but I was just trying to keep it smooth and build up my consistency. Here just passing a back marker, nice and easy, lets us through on the hairpin. Got a decent gap. He's out of the back. And now a couple minutes into my stint, now about 10 minutes in, you can see I'm able to maintain that gap to the BMW P2. They were on the same strategy as us, but they were running a lot higher traction control and ABS, so I think their car struggled a bit more, but they were on dry tyres in the wet as well, just like us, same strategy. However, that AMG that you're now seeing in P3, they went to wet tyres at the driver swap, so they were really quick in the wet compared to me, but then you'll see later on in the race why that not only mucks up their stint timers, but also they are then really slow later on when it starts to dry out. Here this is Mercedes getting back. I brake a bit early to do a cutback, but he just has so much more traction in the wet tyres that I can't get a good run on him. No, he has much better traction on the wet line, sorry. Here just trying to get past some back markers, nearly end up going into the back of the McLaren here. But as you see, the track's already drying up. Now this was the thing with the staying on wets or dries. Here the back marker didn't expect him to slow down there, very nearly going to the back of him. But the temperatures were so hot, I think we were around 30 degrees or 40 degrees. So that as soon as it stopped raining, it was dry within about 3 or 4 laps. Here the BMW caught up to me whilst it started to dry out. I was similar, maybe a little bit slower in the wet, I'm not exactly sure. But in the dry, the BMW was definitely quicker. We had a good wee battle here. I was trying to hold him up as much as I could, just defend. As you see, the AMG on those wet tires and dry conditions starting to really struggle now. Here the BMW had a wee go around the outside. I held it on the inside there. He gets a good run on us, but he isn't able to hold it on the outside of the final corner there, and we're able to hold P2. But then coming into turn 1, the BMW tries to get past us again. I try to hold the inside line, but the BMW gets a good run on us around the outside there. A good move by them, and we drop down to P3. But just on the next lap, as you see, the AMG's really struggling on those wet tires and dry conditions. We're able to easily get past there. And now, I'm not sure exactly when it was, but the AMG then had to go in the pits again. Here, really close call with a back marker, very nearly going to the back of him. Somehow avoided actually getting any damage there, but a very close call. We now only had about 20 minutes left of my stint. Here, just as I was coming in for my in-lap, you can see the Lexus is super early on the brakes compared to what I was expecting. And the Aston in this setup, on dry tyres and wet conditions, was actually quite good. But I don't think the Lexus was as good, so braked a bit earlier than me, which I didn't expect, and I had to go onto the grass. Here, I went in for my pit stop there, as you saw, to swap back to manual for his stint. Here, overtaking the AMG quite quickly, so I'm not sure when the AMG went in to go back onto dries or what happened there, but as you saw, manual was able to get past. So now, as you see, manual was 40 seconds behind the BMW, now only about 30 seconds. So he was much quicker than the BMW. But now look, just a couple laps later and we've dropped to only 5 seconds behind the BMW. So we'll find out what happened to the BMW in just a minute. But here we're about to see the overtake for the lead here by Manuel. An excellent move, late braking by Manuel. Send it down the inside into turn 1. The BMW leaves the door open, and a good move by Manuel to take the lead of the race with 3.5 hours to go. So this is what happened to the BMW. He just used the curbing on the exit, as you see here, which just completely unsettled the car, and a big shunt into the wall, which is why they were so much slower. So now with 3.5 hours, Manuel's doing a great job pulling a 20-second lead, as that BMW is now heavy on damage.
Are the tires alright?
Here Manuel behind the Lexus. Lexus makes a mistake, back marker, and Manuel ends up going into the back of him. I think the Lexus slowed down to move to the left and get out of the way, but Manuel didn't actually expect that. And now with 3 hours left of the race, nearly halfway through, Manuel's just nearly finished up his stint. I think he comes in this lap or in a couple minutes to swap the drivers. And at this point, halfway into the race, unfortunately our biggest rival, who was on the same strategy, disconnected from the race, which was a big shame for them at the halfway mark, as that took out our biggest rival, but did mean we now had a really big lead. So Manuel was still in the car actually, with 2 hours and 56 minutes to go. As you see, it was now medium or heavy rain, and we were still on these dry tyres, staying on the dry tyres. Now Manuel came in for the end of his final stint. He did stint 1, stint 3, and now it was over to Joris for Joris's first stint. As you see, Joris now in the car. 2 hours and 43 minutes to go of the race. Joris able to get in the car, settle in quite quickly, and let's see how we get on now, as Joris is in the car over 100 laps into the race. Now Joris doing a great job, over a lap and a quarter ahead of P2. So we had a big lead, so we could kind of take it easy a bit. We didn't need to push. We could be a bit more careful for track limits and things like that. I think at this point we were running on 2 track limit warnings, so we didn't have too much worries with that. But not much happened on Joris's stint, so there wasn't much to show. You just did a great job, kept it consistent, and built up that lead. Now I was back in the car with 1 hour and 50 minutes to go for my final stint. Let's see what we can do here. My main goal was just to be consistent and not make any mistakes.
Not holding too much time, and then you can leave the damage on. But
as I said, we were leading by about a lap, so I was just focusing on trying to stay consistent as possible. I did have a little bit of
Probably
damage
be able
on the
to get
car
to
from when Manuel had
40s
those
down.
incidents with the back marker. We didn't repair it until
Probably
the
be
end of my
40s
stint,
now that we're not
so that
climbing
did
up
slow us
the
down just a
S's.
little bit.
It's like
But I
about
wasn't
10
really needing
something
to
the first
push,
lap,
just trying to
and
take
then
it easy, not make any
up until I
mistakes.
came behind the me and W, and then I lost like 1.6 seconds. Went from 4 tenths up to 1.2 down. I can't flash my lights. It worked on the first hour swap. But yeah, I can't.
Here I get a track limit warning, my first of the race unfortunately. Just clipped the curb on the exit there, so unfortunately I did get a track limit warning. So then from there I was much more careful because we were on 3 track limit warnings. But we were now 144 laps into the race. So now with an hour and 14 minutes to go, P2 here coming to unlap himself. We decided just to let him through and let him unlap because he was going to need another pit stop at the end because he had to go back to dry tyres. They mucked up their stint timers because there was 65 minutes was your max stint. So unfortunately they do end up with an extra pit stop near the end.
Okay. Oh, that was a difficult stint, guys.
So with 59 minutes to go, it's now over to Joris for the final stint.
Not difficult.
This was the only big mistake by Joris. He just touched the curb. Great car control by him to save it and not spin it, but just slightly touched the curb and it nearly spun the car around. And now 50 minutes left, and it's starting to rain again, but we're staying on the dry tyres. There's no point going to wets or anything like that. As you see, very hot temps, so it dried out really quickly. And not much was happening in Joris's stint. He did a really good job just staying consistent, and that was our main focus because we had such a big lead, is just stay consistent. There is the AMG up in front, Joris coming to lap him. As you see here, he lets us through, so we were now leading by a lap, and as I said, the Mercedes has to come in near the end of the race because of that max stint timer and them having to change back to dry tyres. As you see here, they've got a pit with 5.5 minutes to go of the race because of those stint timers. The max stint was 65 minutes, which was a shame for them, but it did mean that we then had a bigger lead. So that was then the end of the race. A fantastic job by the entire team. This was my debut endurance race on PC, so it was a fantastic to win on debut. A great job by the entire team. We won by about a lap and a half, so it was a fantastic job. 198 laps long the race was. It was really good, great team effort. I don't look as happy as I was on the inside on the stream because I had been streaming for the full 7 hours, so I was absolutely exhausted. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks as always for watching, and see you again next time.
Fantastic job.